and sent her on her merry way, pretty much. Okay. So putting it on her shoulder and the child, and sent her away, and she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water was spent in the bottle, and she cast the child under one of the shrubs. So here she's like, it's hot. It's the desert. The water's gone. I'm going to just go put my child under the shrub. And because she was expecting to die, right? She was expecting her child to die. And so verse 16, and she went and sat her under, and she went and sat her down over against him a good way off, as if it were a bow shot. For she said, let me not see the death of the child. And she sat over against him and lifted up her voice, and she wept. She wept. She lifted up her voice, and she wept. So verse 17, and God heard the voice of the lad. God heard the voice of the lad. Do you remember Ishmael, what his name means? He heard my affliction. God has heard my affliction. So God heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven, and God said unto her, what aileth thee, Hagar? What aileth thee? Fear not, for God hath heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him in thine hand, for I will make him a great nation. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the bottle with water and gave the lad a drink. So I just love this so much, because at first it was the God that sees, right? And here now he's showing up for her as the God who hears. So if you've ever, how many of you have been screaming at your kids? They don't listen to you. You're talking to your husband or your wife. They're not listening to you. You're trying to make yourself be known, and nobody's listening to you. And here God is showing us that as she's weeping, as she heard as he heard the little boy crying, that God shows up and says, look, here's a well. I'm going to show up for you. I'm going to show up for you. I'm going to show up for you in your affliction. I'm going to show up for you here. And so I want you to know that he not only sees you, but that he hears you. He not only sees you, but that he hears you. God, he's so good. He's just so good. Let's go to verse 22. Same story, same family. Same story, same family. So it's at this time, where God is gonna test Abraham. He's gonna test Abraham. He's gonna test his faithfulness, and here he is, where he asks Abraham to sacrifice his only son, right? He's to sacrifice Isaac to the son that he with Sarah, his only son with Sarah. And so he's got to offer him as a sacrifice, right? And so in chapter 22, verses 11 through 14, right? This is the same family where Abraham is I want to paint a picture here. Abraham is like walking up. He's going to this mountain. He's going to lay his son down. Those moms, Tara's shaking her head like, this is not happening. He's going to lay his son down to sacrifice him. He's got him tied down. He's got everything he needs to lay him down, right? To make him a sacrifice, because he's showing God, I trust you. I hear your voice. This is what you asked me to do, and I'm going to do it, right? And I can only imagine his heart was probably palpitating, right? I don't know where Sarah was. I don't know, you moms, don't let your children go out with their fathers anywhere. Have them packed with a bow and an arrow and all kinds of stuff. But I can only imagine, right? His heart was probably racing. And so here in chapter it says, okay, let's go to verse 9. It says, and they came to the place which God had told him off, and Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order and bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. Okay. Verse 11, and the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here am I. And he said, lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him, for now I know that thou fearest God, seeing that thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes. He lifted up his eyes and he looked, and behold him, a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering instead of his son. Verse 14, and Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh. It's the first time we see Jireh in here. As it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. Jehovah Jireh, where God provides. Jireh means provider. It means that in the when you're like facing a moment like this where you're like, I'm ready to do something desperate. I'm ready to do something that's out of the ordinary. I'm ready to do something that like is against all odds. He shows up as Jireh. He shows up as the provider. So he's not only somebody who sees you or hears you, but he also provides. He also provides. And you know, when I thought about Jireh, because sometimes we call upon Jireh for some things that we probably don't really need. You know what I mean? The way that he shows it to us here is that it was something that was necessary. It was something that was sacrificial. It was something that he wasn't expecting that ram to be there. He wasn't expecting it. And he shows up. He shows up. There's power in the names of Jesus. There's power in his name. That he's not just God creator or God judge or God, but that he sees, that he hears, and that he provides. And I don't know what it is that you need today or who you need him to be, right? That's why I titled this who is he to you? How has he shown up for you in your life? What, when you look at the names, who has he already been to you? I know for me, I want to just share a couple of things that how he's shown up for me. For me, he's been Jehovah Nissi. Jehovah Nissi's protector. The Lord is my banner. He's my banner. He's my shield. He's my fortress. I've been in some really dangerous situations that I put myself in. Right? The situations that I put myself in. Amen. There's been there was that was my sister, amen. She's a witness. She's a witness. I put myself in situations that it's been life or death. And in the nick of time, right? I'm gonna share a story that my life was in danger. And I remember one time I was opening up a door. And I'm not going to give a lot of details, but I was opening up a door and I knew that the people that were coming at me were there to kill me. There were two men that they were there to kill me. And because somebody sent them to kill me. And I remember I looked and I saw death and I said, this is it. I'm dying right here. Right. And I remember I slammed the door shut. And all of a sudden, because that's who God is, he's a God of suddenlies too. All of a sudden, the men were distracted because I remember I was in the house and I was just screaming because I knew that this was going to happen. And I was screaming. And all of a sudden, this garbage truck goes by and I had just put a bottle of water on top of the garbage can because I'm one of those people that I wanted to make sure that the garbage man had water, right? Because it was hot that day. And so the garbage man passed by. Seriously, the garbage man passed by, got out of his garbage truck to grab the water, and it scared those guys away. And even though it was the water, it was in that moment that God showed up as Jehovah Nissi, my protector, my banner, my shield. You can't tell me that's not God. You can't say that he's not your shield or how many things have you been involved in where you should have been dead? You know, I've been in some major accidents that if it wasn't but God that pulled me out, where my car was totaled, when I looked at it, I'm like, how did I walk away from that? Because he's Jehovah Nisi. That's why, because he's Jehovah Nisi. But he's also Jehovah Ra. The Lord is my shepherd. Psalms 23:1 said, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I lack nothing because he's my shepherd. Absolutely nothing because he's my shepherd. And you know, I want to share this too, because in him being my shepherd, he led me here from California to Arizona. That's a whole story in of itself. But it was in a dream, and that's why I'm here. So you can thank God. That's why I'm here. Okay. He gave me a dream, and that's why I'm here. But you know, in where's that? Where's that at? Where he says that he leads me beside still waters. I live at Stillwater Apartments. That's you can look at it as coincidental, but it's not, because he's my shepherd, and I lack nothing. I lack nothing. And so he can be your shepherd. For me, he's also been Jehovah Rapha, the God who heals. I've been healed of bladder cancer. I've been healed of high blood pressure, where I used to be on 3 different medications. I take no medications. I've been healed of spinal pain, and I had spinal surgery in my back, and I was in chronic pain. I have pins and a cadaver bone and pins and plates, and I couldn't bend, and I sometimes would have to crawl, and I was in chronic pain. And I mean, y'all see me, I go hiking, I can move. That's Jehovah Rapha. That's the God that heals. You know, David knows this. When he first met me, how were my hands? My hands were like this, like a crippled woman. I needed surgery in both of my wrists. I couldn't do this. I couldn't snap. I was in chronic pain, and God healed me, because he's the God who heals. Who do you call upon today? Who do you need him to be? How has he already manifested in your life? And so I was asking the Lord. I'm like, Lord, um, what else do you want to say to your people today? What do you want to say to those that are watching? And he said, and I even talked with David, which confirmed him, is that, you know, ask him to show you who he wants you to be. Because it's easy for us to look at that list, right? And to open up the word and go, God, I need you to do this. I need you to be this. But he wants to show himself to you in a very special way tonight. He wants to show you who he is, not just what you need, because he'll do that. But if you ask him tonight, God, who do you want to be for me tonight? Who do you want to be for me in this season? Who do you want to be for me in this situation? Right? How do you want to show yourself to me in my life? And I'm telling you that if you ask him, he's going to show you. He wants to he's intimate. He wants to have a conversation, because remember, he sees you and he hears you and he provides. And so as I close this up, I want us to pray. I want us to pray. I want us to pray. And I want you to you know, can we get some? Yeah. If you don't mind. No. Yeah. I want us to pray, and I want you to just, and we're just going to invite. I mean, he's already here. First of all, we don't have to invite him, because he's already here. His presence is already here, right? And so we want to ask him tonight, God, who do you want to be for us tonight? Who do you want to be for us in this season? So I just want you to pray and just ask him, and just